OSINT or open source intelligence. What is that and what can someone find about you just by looking at information, right? This sounds very simple, yet very difficult at the same time. Now, what do I mean? This is not going to be another like boring top 10 OSINT tools list with like clear information. No, we're not doing that. We're doing actual practice and I'm going to talk to you first, obviously. Now, OSINT, open source intelligence, is basically anything anybody can do to look up information about whatever they want that's publicly available. That's why it's called open source, right? This is a very, very important key. So what you need to remember is that anything you put online, absolutely everything can be found because, for example, social media posts, right? That can be found. Your images, metadata from images, nicknames, everything you use, your account, your social media, what you do, where you're from, your legal name, government name, very often, public information is also where you live. Sometimes some things get leaked, and for example, a passport, a picture with the numbers can be leaked. All of this is regular thing, and what it takes is not a special hacker, not a genius, but someone who knows how to look up information, what they need to start, and what tools they can use. And you don't need to use anything special, right? I could make some just how to use tools without really understanding anything. That's not the point. The point is to look at how this works. So this is important in cybersecurity for both attackers and defenders, obviously, right? The goal will be for us is to understand how our own digital footprint works before someone else can do it. Because if you can understand your digital footprint, if you can understand what information there is about you, then obviously a lot can be removed by yourself, even though some things can be like, they're never fully removed. You can still hide them properly. And I'll give you obviously best practices as well that you need. Now, let's start. Anybody can start from just one piece of information. You don't need a lot of info. That's pretty important to know. You don't need like anything, but maybe like an email or a username, like a nickname, right? Sometimes a full government name can be useful too, but oftentimes government names can be repeated, right? Like they're like John Smith, right? There's a pretty common name, I'm pretty sure. So you can't really go from looking up John Smith unless John Smith is someone who can, like, they have very specific profession and you know more than just that one nickname. But as a specialist, what you need to do is to pick your starting point. You begin with a single username or like an email address, right? Doesn't matter. That's all you really need. After that, you need to search broadly. That's very important. So you need to use general search engines such as Google. Sometimes other stuff works too, but I would just advise you to stick with Google. And just do the most basic OSINT Google Dorks, which I'll show you as well. It's not real difficult to do. Like I'll show you the most basics. You need to cross-reference usernames. So for example, compare the same username across different platforms to find connections. Let me give you an example from me, right? So my username very often online, like in games and social media and everywhere is Network David, right? That's one, or EOBard is second. Now, if you just look up Network David, you could easily find what my email is. Very often you can cross-reference them. For example, someone maybe Network David, and you could easily assume that just me again, just one is taken, for example, right? Or EOBard, like where I got that name. Like for example, you can just type EOBard because you'll find the Reverse Flash guy, right? From the comics. I don't know. But if you look up proper username with proper website, you might be able to find a lot about me as an example, which I'll show you. You need to practice on yourself. Obviously, because it's open source, you technically could do OSINT on anybody you want, and it's technically legal, right? But I would assume it's kind of unethical. So don't do that unethically. Just practice on yourself. And obviously you need to document every single clue. So record each new finding, take it in notes. You don't need any special tools, just Notepad or anywhere. Some people like to do it on paper, like to draw a proper thing. Doesn't matter, any way you prefer. Now, to connect all the dots, you need to separate pieces of public information that reveal far more when viewed together. Like a username here, a photo there, right? A forum post somewhere else. Individually, they may seem harmless, but combined, they paint a detailed picture. Let me give you an example, right? One post can be about just a text, right? It can be from me talking about how I am like traveling right now and how cool it is, right? I don't know, whatever. And there can be another post 2 days later on Instagram, which shows a background of the Eiffel Tower, right? So by just looking that up, you could easily assume that I don't live in Paris, right? I'm traveling there. And you could assume safely that I've been here for 2 days already, especially if it's a fresh post, right? Unless I'm posting something old, in which case you can't really do much. And you were able to find it because one, you have my X or Twitter account where I type stuff, and two, you have an Instagram account. Both share the same username for convenience. Maybe I like it that way, right? So you get a detailed picture, because if you just look up the other way, you may assume I'm from France, but because I mentioned somewhere else I'm traveling, it becomes simpler, right? You need to perform your security audit on yourself, which I'll show you right now. Yeah? Search yourself, obviously. Look up your own usernames and email. I'll do that now. Review visibility. So you need to audit your public social media profiles, like what you can do. Obviously, you need to also clean up accounts. Delete pretty much every account you don't use, which you may find of yourself after performing a tool like something like Sherlock. I'll show you that in a second as well. And enable multi-factor authentication. This is very important. I think this is common sense, right, at this point, but you need multi-factor authentication. If you really are against using like some dedicated apps like Google Authenticator or Authy, just at least do an email, but I would strongly advise to use a dedicated application instead of an email, or especially against SMS. So please be aware of that. And what are the best practices in OSINT? You need to think like both an attacker and a defender at the same time. It's very important. Like an attacker, okay, so if I'm a hacker, I'm hacking myself. What can I do to find more and more information? If I'm a defender, like, okay, I found all this information. Now, what can I do to hide all of this? Very, very key. Very key. You need to defend. Don't exploit anything. Important. Don't do anything illegal here. Don't promote anything illegal. We just do the basic stuff. And repeat regularly. I would also advise you to use different usernames. Pretty like good thing. Right? Just use different usernames. Like if you like really one of them, maybe for something like for gaming, you can be, I don't know, some like I can't come up with something right from the top of my head, but something like Slayer 123. I don't know, some stupid thing like that. But for your Twitter, you can be a completely different username. Cybersecurity specialist XD77, right? You get it, right? Completely different things. This is pretty important. That way, it's hard to connect those two accounts together. For Instagram, you can be your first legal name, last made-up name. Why not? What's stopping you? So, let's look up now the following. I'll open my Linux machine here, and I'll show you some super simple things. You don't even need Linux for this, to be honest. I'll just show you this because this is how it's convenient for me. Let's just go on Google. Keep in mind this is completely fresh account, like for a fresh virtual machine. There is nothing here. So what you could do here, like I don't know if you knew this, but in Google, if you just type, well, let me type my username, right? Actually, no. Before I do that, let me do this. Python 369, just like 369 for no reason, right? But you can see here, like I have 369, but it's not gonna be here in every search. It's going to prioritize possibly Python. But if I put 369 in quotations and now I search 369, every single search without, like, doesn't matter, will have 369 inside of it. You can see I'm like Control F and entering. Everything has 369. It's pretty important. So what you could do is use quotations. This means the exact search. So let me do the Network David, right? Network David has, like, you see, I found GitHub already. Okay, we found the Medium already, which is the blogs, right? We found Linktree, official, Instagram, Twitter. Okay, so we got what? Instagram, Twitter, Medium, GitHub 4 already, Reddit, okay, 5. Actually, I'm not sure if this is me, but let's just assume it is, right? I actually don't know. Docker, yes, that's definitely me. Python, okay, you can see GitHub, and you can just continue with this. Okay, you can see like my old setup here. It's literally here, a Reddit post, right? You can see something with PCs. This is super simple. All I did was put quotations. So if you just know my username, this is already how much you can do. Now you can take this to the next level. You can open a terminal, a command line, and let me just update this real quick. Sudo apt update. For example, Kali already has Sherlock built in it, right? So what you can do is you can use Sherlock. Just look up my username, or you can install it with Python, but this is not, I don't want to make this way too technical, right? So I'm not going to go in that many details. If that's interesting for you, I can show you how to do that, but I'm pretty sure that's not the point of this video, I assume, right? If I type Sherlock and I hit enter, you can see it offers me to install it. After I install it, all I can do is just Sherlock and then my username. Like, super simple stuff. Anybody could do this. You don't need technical knowledge, right? So let this install. Clear this Sherlock Network David. So instead of using like the browser, it's going to just map this very beautifully for me, right? Obviously, not every account is going to be directly me, but you can make references here. This is just one username, right, that I use. And you can see how many accounts there are already at this point. What also you can do is look up some information about you. If you go to Have I Been Pwned, which is an incredible website, an incredible tool, you can type an email address. For example, let me do actually one of my emails that I don't use that often, like networkdavid@gmail.com. There's like a business email, or like, but you can see here there's 0 data breaches. But if I can do something like testgmail.com, which let's assume it was mine, right? Which it obviously isn't. I'm not that lucky to get this email. You can see this email address has been found in multiple data breaches, and 569 to be precise. So just look up your email, see if there are any data breaches. Now is the time to make sure you have more security, right? All about all of this. This is very, very important, very simple stuff, but make sure to do all of this. By the way, I intentionally just switched to Have I Been Pwned because I know that Sherlock will take a while, and you can just see how incredible this mapping is, how simple this tool is, right, to do. And I was able to just find so much. And honestly, some of this is scary because what the hell is PHP rule? Like, what is that? What are those websites? WordPress, okay, we get it. But like at this point, I haven't done Sherlock on myself for a while, and this actually doesn't look normal. I'm pretty sure some of these accounts aren't mine. Like chess, sure, yeah. I play some chess sometimes. Airlines, I don't even fly, but there are photos. Okay, I'm not gonna click on this because this actually is scary. I'll click on this whole video. But that's pretty much it, what you need to do. Please make sure to take your security carefully. Test, audit yourself. That's pretty simple. Nothing special. And you'll learn a finger or two on the way. If you didn't know about Dorks, Sherlock, or Have I Been Pwned, great. So that will be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.